Tech Talk with Matthew Dickerson. Matthew Dickerson. Tech Talk. Sit back and relax. It's time to talk technology.
Greetings, all our friends of the tech space. It's time for us to share our love language with you, and there's plenty to go around, let me assure you. Welcome to another fresh new episode of Tech Talk with Matthew Dickerson. Now, in today's show, we're exploring further developments in AI, at least one of them with massive implications for paraplegics and quadriplegics. Stay tuned for that one. We've got a story about innovative support solutions to help sufferers of dementia, and another story about remarkable remedies for people like me who notoriously forget to take their tablets. And for those of you who love a good garage band, we bring you news of Guthman Musical Instrument Awards for the most innovative and unlikely of noisemakers. All that in good time, however. Firstly, let's welcome to the microphone, returning from his subcontinental jaunt, our well-rested techspert. It's Mr. Matthew Dickerson.
How are you going today?
I'm very well.
I've been missing you the last few weeks.
We've missed you too.
So I have come back from Sri Lanka and the Maldives. I've worked at Happiness. I would have said Maldives because I'm an Aussie, but I learnt while I was over there the Maldives. And one thing that struck me on this particular trip was just how far we've come with our telecommunications as you travel. Now, some people might complain that it's expensive. I'll get to that part in a moment. But just the fact that we've got such good agreements around our standards. And I go back to 2002. I had won an award from Microsoft, and they said, you've got to come along. We don't have to, but if you'd like to collect this award, come along to the Microsoft Worldwide Partner Conference in LA. And I went, well, that sounds pretty impressive. I'll go along to that. 15,000 of Microsoft's best partners go along to this conference each year or thereabouts. And it's a big deal, this conference. And I thought, well, I'll go and I'll visit my brother. He lives in America, and I'll spend a little bit of time in the US, not much time. But I ended up renting 3 different mobile phones for my short time. I was probably there for 2 weeks in total, maybe 2.5 weeks.
When one's never enough.
Well, the only way you could actually
Did you say renting?
Renting.
Okay.
So you couldn't take your Aussie mobile phone over. That was laughable to think that would actually work in the US. We had our own, we had AMPS, and then we had CDMA, which became a bit of an international standard for a little while, but not that you could roam with it. So if I wanted to stay in touch, I had to rent one in LA. That was fine. But then when I started to travel a little bit, that phone, that provider doesn't work in that particular area. So to move to that area, I had to hand that one back, rent another one. And then my brother was in Boston, the other side of the US. That's another provider that covers that. So competition sounds fantastic from a price perspective, but it doesn't sound great for interoperability. And even just...
See, today, that just sounds so...
ridiculous.
Ancient and prehistoric.
And it's only 2002, so
Yeah,
it's not that long ago. I mean, that's, I suppose, a generation. But
so unuser-friendly.
It is. It was so unuser-friendly. So, again, they did have this whole patchwork quilt across the US of different providers, and people used to joke about it, and I never really understood the jokes till I went there, where they'd pick up the phone, a pay phone, and they'd make a call to one provider, and the operator would chime in and say, put some money in. And you go, really? You're going to try and make me put some money in? I'll just keep talking for a while, and then I'll definitely put it in. And, of course, you never did put it in afterwards. So they had this whole thing about focus on competition, but what it really meant was that you just end up with this patchwork with different networks that didn't work that well together. So we've come a long way from there to the point now, and I did have a little bit of a look at it. So basically 1987 was when European governments and telecom authorities agreed that we should have one standard called GSM. And that was across Europe. So that was fantastic. If you went to Europe, you could roam because Europe, with lots of countries on one patch of dirt.
People are jumping borders all the time.
Exactly right. So that made sense. But it wasn't till 2009 when the world kind of said, this 4G LTE seemed like a reasonable standard. We should all get on that standard. So that's the point when we said, let's get there. But it really didn't kind of take off from there. It was probably a few years after that before you could get some reasonable roaming. Now, and still 4G and 5G, pretty much you can go to most countries around the world and your phone will work, but it might be expensive. And that's the frustration. It's no longer a technical problem. It's just how much do we charge, or how much can we get away with charging, I think is probably more the issue. And that's exactly what happens in some areas. Yeah. So your phone will still work in lots of places you go. Now, in Australia, you might have one particular provider and they might have roaming agreements with other providers around the world. but they just charge a lot because I'm sure those roaming agreements are fairly minimal in terms of how much they charge each other, but those carriers could charge a lot. So it's a bit frustrating from that perspective, but I just love the fact that we've come up with this common standard. I started looking at other standards and thought it'd be great if we could get other standards across the world, because different patches of the world said, here's a problem, let's solve it in this way. And I often find it fascinating how you solve the same problem in different ways. So we have different ways of solving the same problem. Yeah. So just voltage. I mean, the fact that we've got 220, 240 volts in some countries, you've got 110 and 120 volts in other countries. You go, well, why did you decide that 120 was good and we decided 240 was okay?
Well, the same thing goes with frequency of the AC power too. Yeah. I think we're at what are we at 50 hertz? 50 hertz, which is apparently the worst frequency to have for heart attacks.
Right.
So if you're going to get electrocuted and have a heart attack, it's best to do it in Australia.
Don't do it in Australia. Yeah. So some are on 60 hertz, of course. So you've got, as you say, different frequencies there. But even the plugs, you've got to carry. I carry universal adapters. Who decided that a round plug or a square plug or an angled plug was best? And can we just agree? Can we just have one plug? And of course, you do get universal sockets now where most plugs will go into them. But things like that, you just think, it'd be so much easier. To travel would be so much easier. It probably didn't matter 100 years ago, but it does now because people travel much easier. I love USB-C. I love the fact that the European Union really pushed that on the world. So Europe's done a few good things here. And we've got USB-C now. So you can go to most places now and you've just got USB-C for most of the things. Driving, I still get frustrated. Why do we have left hand and right hand? I do understand the history of that, but there's some models I see come out that are in left hand driving. I want that model in Australia, but it's not going to come to Australia.
It keeps things interesting when you travel, doesn't it?
It does, but imagine if you tried to change. Imagine if you said, let's all go to left or right, whichever way you want to go. The mayhem, the carnage on the roads while you're trying to change it.
There's an excellent photo of when they did that in Sweden. The day they changed from the right-hand driving on the right-hand side to the left-hand side. Yep. Carnage, absolute carnage. So look that up on the internet, folks. And
I'd love it, but I don't know that anyone's prepared for the death toll while you're changing over. Maybe the final frontier would be a language. Could we decide on a language? You can't. You go to some countries and there's different languages in different areas, just local languages. So getting a language.
English seems to be steamrolling its way around the globe. Most people are accepting of English, however.
Yeah, you can get away with English-ish in some places. I mean, China and France are two places.
It's one of the hardest languages to learn if you're trying to pick it up late in life.
Well, and I know even in the Maldives, I learned a few Maldivian words while I was there, but most of the people I spoke to that were natives, because one of the places I went to said the rule in the Maldives is you've got to have 80% local employment, so you meet lots of people from the Maldives. Yeah. And most of them that spoke English, I said, where'd you learn your English? And they said, when we started working in resorts. So they were probably in their late teens, early 20s. Yeah, right. But they seem to be quite reasonable with their language skills. So it's interesting how we've come to this point where we've come with standards sometimes that are common across the world and some that are not so common across the world. Thankfully, we've got good standards in flying. We seem to still fly in feet, which is a bit annoying, but at least we've got common standards there where people can fly to different parts of the world and say, this is the standard we use. So in some areas, we've managed to crack it.
But it is a big deal when you've got to change a convention that has been entrenched for centuries.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And imperial and metric, surely, can we just get that part right? I mean, there's lots of things like that. But anyway, it's always fascinating. You learn so much when you travel.
Okay, folks, it's time to tear the wrapper on another 9 cracking stories. Now, we kick off today with a story borrowed from the pages of the Addams Family Chronicles. Now, have you ever been reaching behind a cupboard, maybe straining for a hidden PowerPoint or trying to reach for an important little something or other that's fallen down the back of the cupboard? You just can't quite touch it? If only you had a detachable robotic hand, folks. Now, one that could eject itself and then scuttle and manoeuvre through the inaccessible zone to finish the job completely independently. Now, that'd be something. Well, some Swiss engineers have clearly been there far too many times before. They've seen the need and they've filled the need. Thank you, Rodney Copperbottom, for that little paraphrasing there. Now, Matt, I can hear Gomez Addams chiming away in the background here. Do you remember Thing from Addams Family?
It's funny because it's the first thing I thought of. When I saw this story, I just went, they've just looked at the Addams Family. Someone's gone, oh, that's pretty cool. Let's go and build that.
I need to reach that thing and I don't want to have to walk all the way over there. I'll just get my hand to go and grab it.
Correct. So the Addams Family goes back to a cartoon in 1938.
Oh, really?
It was when it was first drawn,
Okay.
became a TV series from the 60s.
Oh, sorry, but it wasn't an Addams Family thing. It wasn't borrowed from another cartoon.
No, it was the Addams Family
Yeah,
started
gotcha.
in 38 and Thing was a part of that.
Yeah, right.
And then the the TV series, 64, it was actually released. So the whole idea of this hand that just did stuff, of course, in the TV series, it was always attached to a desk because it was a real person underneath there. So that was definitely the concept from that perspective. But in this idea, the whole idea that you've got something that we often steal from nature. Scientists often say, hey, nature does that really well, let's do the same thing. In this case, they've done the opposite. They've actually said, what about if we had a non-human inspired design? So let's have a robot, rather than just have a normal robotic hand that can be better than a human hand. So what they did, first of all, was they spent a long time looking at what the human hand could do and couldn't do, and then started to come up with other things. So they thought the first thing was, we need two thumbs, obviously.
You need two thumbs.
Having a thumb on one side.
Well, I've always thought having one thumb was very good, very handy.
That's right.
Sorry, pardon the pun.
But having two thumbs is apparently twice as good. If you've got a thumb on the other side of your fingers, that means you can grip two separate things. So you can use your little fingers on one side as an opposing thumb, and then your normal pointer finger and your thumb on that side. So they've ended up with two thumbs. Interestingly enough, 4 fingers was the right number. In a whole range of scenarios they played out, they found that nature's not too bad there. 4 fingers is right.
Sorry, 4 fingers plus 2 thumbs?
4 fingers plus 2 thumbs.
Gotcha.
That's right, yeah. So what we're missing is just the extra thumb in terms of this design. So first thing they thought was, we've now got something that can grasp things on both sides, but also our fingers only curl in one direction. And anyone that's played a bit of Aussie rules like you have knows that fingers do go in the other direction, but it's painful when that happens.
It is.
So they made these fingers go backwards and forwards because that's more flexible in being able to grip things and hold on to things. They did get a little bit of inspiration from an octopus, because an octopus can unscrew a jar and still stand there and hold the jar very easily using its various...
Tend to have 8 limbs.
Yeah, that's right. So they took a bit of inspiration from that. Can this hand do things at the same time as holding things? So that was all fine. And then the last part was, it is a bit inconvenient to make the whole robot move from one end of the bench all the way to the other end of the bench. And they thought about the power usage of the robot to do that. Well, just send the hand. So if it needs to pick up something at the other end of the bench, the hand literally crawls along the bench, just like we might do if we were playing with some kids or just walking our fingers along the bench like we did when our kids were young. The hand literally walks to the other end of the bench, picks up something because it's got a couple of thumbs it can use to pick up things and brings it back to you.
I can imagine the party tricks that are going to happen when these things first get released.
That's right.
And the freaking out that people are going to do the first couple of times.
So researchers showed doing things like picking up bottles, cans, tomatoes, bananas, and maybe picking up a couple and carrying them. It can handle about 2.3 kilograms.
Okay.
So go down and pick up the bread and the butter and the honey and bring it back down and then butter it and do all the things you might do with it. So I like the fact that we're investigating different ways we might use it. And we do use humans and use nature. But in this case, they've said, no, we should be able to do it better. With all our technology, we should be able to do it better. So the first thing they've got is a detachable
So are we
hand.
seeing these on people who have got prosthetics, or are we seeing these on other robots, say humanoid robots, shooting off a hand there because they've got other better things to do and the hand can go and do the other job?
Yeah, the second. They're talking about these with humanoid robots. Prosthetics. Now, that's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, so you could have, I'm just thinking about how Captain Hook with his hook. That's a long way to go from that to shooting off your hand to go and do a job for you.
That's right, it is.
And come back with a glass of water.
And being able to control the hand, which we might have a story that might get into more controlling the hand later on, but having the control of that hand and then detaching the hand to shoot off and go and do things.
That idea.
It does sound cool, doesn't it? Because I'm too lazy. I'm sitting there in the lounge room watching a bit of sport, need a beer from the fridge, just send it over to the fridge, climb up the fridge, open the door. That sounds pretty complicated, but just do that and bring the beer back to me.
I just want to tap some guy down 4 seats, on, the row at the cinema or whatever.
Can you stop chewing so loudly? So we're getting there slowly. One of the things that they do talk about is that there are limitations in the human hand. And one of the things that I've often seen is that when we've evolved as humans, nature doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be good enough.
Yeah.
And what they've looked at in this scenario is they said, okay, the hand was good enough, but we can do better than that. Let's do better than that. Let's have 2 thumbs, 4 fingers, and detachable. Something that we hadn't thought of in nature, and I'm not sure how we do it in nature as well.
We're looking into smart glasses once again with this next story, with an important use for sufferers of dementia. Now, we've all done it, forgotten a name of a person standing right there in front of us, and when it's an important name like a colleague, a client, a friend, or even a family member, the anxiety and embarrassment is palpable. For sufferers of dementia, this becomes the new norm, and the anxiety leads to withdrawal and a heightening of the condition. But how empowering would it be if there was a simple and discreet reminder for you at each greeting? A pair of smart glasses designed specifically to maintain your dignity and alleviate your anxiety by giving you gentle reminders. Matt, this has got so much potential in aged care.
It does, a whole range of areas, I think. 55 million people suffer from dementia globally, so it's a big problem, without a doubt. And the idea of this is to keep people living in their homes longer and keep them being independent as much as possible.
That's the word, independence.
Yeah, that's right, rather than having to have someone live with them or move into some sort of aged care facility. And the first thing where, as you said, people have some anxiety, people have some concerns is someone walks up and they look at them and they go, I know you. I'm sure I know you. It's James. Oh, James, yes. Yeah. How do I know you again? Oh, that's
We do a podcast together. Right. We sit right across from each other, Matt, on a regular basis.
Yes, well, I haven't gotten there yet, thankfully. But it is funny. I actually sometimes struggle when I see people out of context. If I see someone that I know, not know well, but know vaguely from a job they do, and I see them at their workplace, and then I might see them at a cafe one weekend.
Out of context.
That's right. And I go, I know that face there. And they go, oh, that's right, you're James from the podcast.
I've said g'day to people in a different context, and it turns out, they just work at the supermarket. It's just like, that's where I keep saying.
That's how I know you, because I just bought some avocado yesterday. So the first part, which is, I love the use of the glass in this scenario. The first part is that you'll load up in your glasses some family members, carers, doctors, some people that you are familiar with. And then when your glasses see that person, in your glasses it says James, podcast. Oh, James, that's how I know him. So, g'day, James, how you going?
I do a podcast with him.
That's right. Should we go and do one? So straight away it makes you feel just a little bit more comfortable. And I think the thing is, if you get a bit of a jog, a bit of a memory jog, that this is a certain person and how you might know them, then other things might flow on from there.
Fill into place, yeah.
But I think from the other perspective, it feels better as well, because I know friends of mine that have had a parent, for example, suffering from dementia. They'll go and visit them and they'll go, who are you? I'm your son. Yeah. And so that's got to feel pretty sad from that person. At least if you walked up and they go, oh, it shows up on my screen, this is Mary, your daughter. Yeah. G'day, Mary, how are you going today? Yeah. Thanks for coming and visiting me. That makes that person feel better as well. So I think it's a feel-good story from both perspectives. But that's one thing, just seeing someone that you might know. But then some common tasks. So I like to have a cup of tea in the morning, and you get up and you go, I can't remember how to make a cup of tea, or what I do, or how to make a cup of tea. You get a reminder to say, it's 9 a.m, it's time for a cup of tea. How do I make it? And it gives you instructions on the inside of your glasses to actually show you how to make the cup of tea. So just the basics. I mean, it sounds similar. If you boil the jug, you get a cup out.
Things we take for granted.
Things we take for granted, that's right. Where do I keep the tea bags? Oh, no. Actually, I saw, slightly off topic here, I saw a pilot this morning, which worried me a little bit, the pilot that walked down from the plane as we all got off the plane together, and on his ID tag that was hanging from his lapel on his shirt, on his jacket, it had an air tag. And I thought, so that pilot loses his ID on a regular basis.
Or that pilot gets lost on a regular basis and someone has to come and find him.
I didn't go that far, but maybe that was more the case. But I can just see him at home going, where's my ID? I've got to go and I've got to go and fly this plane. Yep. I need my ID to get into the airport. And so he's had an air tag. But the funny part was it was hanging right there front and centre with the air tag. And I went, do I really want my pilot being so forgetful he can't remember where well, obviously where he sat, but maybe.
See, I would have forgiven him straight away.
We landed, so it was okay then. I had no choice. On the other, if I was at the other end, I noticed it might have been more of a concern. But things like this where you've just got common tasks you do. So all of this is built around an AI companion named Wispy, Wispy. And so effectively this will give you some reassurance, it'll give you some some information about the things that you're doing. It'll give you those common names, etc. But at the moment, it's only with their glasses. Okay, so you've got to buy their glasses, but that's okay. That's at the moment. The idea, and you're paying a lot for them. You're paying about $1,350 Australian for these glasses, but the whole idea is that this will tie into smart glasses. So we know from the CES special we did, there are more and more smart glasses coming out.
Yeah,
so their plan
will bring down the price.
That's right. Their plan will be you'll just subscribe to their tool, and whatever glasses you happen to have, which are obviously coming down in price, you'll be able to use this AI tool with those. So
now, presumably, it'll also have things like maps and directions and stuff if you get lost and wanderers.
Correct.
So the implications for dementia sufferers, if they can just think to ask questions the ether.
Well, more than that, I think it will actually be aware of your surroundings and give you information. So it might actually show up a map automatically.
Yeah, you look lost or you seem lost.
Yeah. If you're interested, if you've got some people that are suffering from dementia, go and have a look at the Longitude Prize on Dementia. It's a competition that runs, and they award £1 million to a technology that can support independent living. So this tool is actually one of 5 finalists in that particular award or that particular competition, but there's some other quite impressive ones in there as well. So again, it's all about trying to keep people independent for longer. We've done a wonderful job with our medical developments in keeping us
alive longer, but
that's
that
right.
means...
But then other issues, we didn't have this issue when we all died at 50. Now we're living to 80 and beyond. Then we've got other issues we've got to deal with. So we've got to solve that problem as well. I don't think it's a hopeless scenario. I think it's potential for development there.
Yeah, for sure. Now, in the heady world of fashion design, where pressure to be innovative is taxing to the point of exhaustion, and the cost of poor judgment can be professional suicide, a little help in the way of inspiration would be highly appreciated, I'm sure. Now, a little wonder that many fashion designers are turning to AI to get creative balls rolling for their latest collections. With AI now heavily embedded in literature, art and music, is it any wonder that the fashion industry joins the ranks, Matt?
There is a definite line in the sand here, James.
You're right.
And there are brands who are on one side of that line and brands on the other side of that line.
So you fall into AI or you don't fall into
Correct.
AI. And do you have to announce your allegiance or?
Well, some companies are very strongly announcing their non-allegiance. Their statement that they are only using humans. They're using human creativity, human inspiration, human people to actually come up with their designs and go forward. And other companies, I suspect, some are saying that they're using AI, and other companies, I suspect, are saying nothing and using a bit of AI somewhere in there. Because when you talk to the brands that are using a bit of AI, and so, for example, I'll give you one, and I'm not a big fashionista, so I don't necessarily know all these brands, but Alice and Olivia has been using AI tools to help design prints for the Spring 2026 collection. So not just the design, but the actual prints that will go on their design. So they've been doing silk bomber jackets, pleated skirts. So they've basically been using some pretty common tools. So Leonardo AI and Adobe Firefly, so common tools, ones that we can all go and get. So they're not some special tools that have been designed just for this particular company. They've been using that to generate new style prints, so different style of prints. Now, the concern, I suppose, some people say, is that when you're using AI, you're effectively looking at what's there and then maybe modifying it, maybe generating something as a result of what's already been seen, as opposed to humans who might come up with entirely new designs. But do we really, as humans, do we really come up with entirely new designs, everything we do?
So we come back to Einstein. What did Einstein say? Something like 0.0001% of us will have an original idea. We often, and fashion design is constantly borrowing designs from the past giving them soup up.
Yep.
So when I first read the notes for this story, I was thinking, okay, well, that's fair enough. You get started with AI. You might say, I want to combine, the flair of the 60s with the formality of the 40s or whatever and see what it comes up with.
Yep.
And then you go tweaking it. I think that's legitimate, isn't it?
I think so. And I think that's probably what humans do. And even in the music world, we hear sometimes where some musician is being sued by a musician of the past saying, that song there, hear those 7 notes together there, that's taken from my song. Yeah. And I think sometimes people have deliberately done it, but I think most of the time people go, I just came up with that, but it might have been somewhere tucked around the back of the head, bouncing around. Yeah.
There was a big thing about Land Down Under, wasn't there?
Yeah, it was.
Not so many years ago, yeah.
So I think it's hard to come up with an entirely original idea that hasn't had some inspiration. In fact, you see designers where they say, where's your inspiration? Oh, well, I grew up looking at blah, and that's been my inspiration for all the things that I've done. So, it's a bit rich to say that I want to use humans because I want everything to be original and creative. But at the same time, I get it that they want to maybe keep some people in job because some of the job numbers are scary.
Yeah.
AI-related disruption in creative industries has supposedly cost us about 55,000 jobs in 2025. Now, I don't think that's that big a number. 55,000 sounds like a lot, but that's globally in 1 year. And I'm sure there are other forms of automation that have probably had more of an impact than, say, AI. So there are some brands like Alice and Olivia that are saying we're doing it, and they're a decent brand. They turn over about $460 million annually. So they're a reasonable sized brand. And the thing that they like about it is they can take a design cycle down from weeks or even a month or more down to days. And that's where they've come up with. So they'll say, give me some ideas, give me some different concepts, and then, oh, look at that. That's done, and that, look at that one there. We'll go with that one. Let's refine that one, as opposed to designers who will then spend the time to draw that design, actually flesh out that design, which can take a long period of time.
A long period of time,
That's right. So that's been the greatest one there. Designers have been using it for mood boards, converting sketches into factory-ready rendering. So again, I'm going to do the sketches here. That's kind of what I want. Now give me a render that I can send to the factory to actually have that made into a print. So that's got to save time as well. So if we get to the point where we're using AI, then surely some of these brands could be sold for less, but that's not going to suit some brands. So Chanel, for example, has said quite publicly that we will not use AI for fashion design. We are going to retain a purely human creative process. And that might be just to keep their prices up.
For the time being.
For the time being.
Until they realise.
Well, when you get to the point where maybe some of your competitors are much cheaper in terms of the production costs, maybe you'll go, look at that, they're much cheaper in the way they can produce things.
Mind you, I've got to empathise here because there are certain things in my line of work, in teaching, where I can definitely lean into AI a lot more heavily, but I just have trouble surrendering because I just don't want to think that AI could do as good a job as I could.
Yeah, and I think part of it is, in my mind, is the combination of. Yeah. So Kate Spade, for example, and I know Kate Spade because I know some of my kids use Kate Spade phone cases. So the designs on a phone case seems like a pretty simple thing, but anyway, my kids love the Kate Spade phone cases. Kate Spade has said that they use AI in their handbag design, cutting sampling time by around 2 weeks per product. I don't know how many handbags they produce, but 2 weeks seems like a reasonable reduction in time, which obviously saves costs there. But they've also said, to your point, that they will only make final decisions based on humans. So it might be, okay, AI, go and give me some designs, give me some concepts, and then let's have some humans look at those. But the first part, if you like, that first rough cut can be done much quicker rather than having humans involved in the process. But stand there on the edge of the ocean, put your hand up and stop the tide coming in if you will.
No.
But
good luck, King Canute.
AI is going to knock you over, I think.
If you're like me, you're probably terrible at taking regular medication. It's just a simple 3-second job. Grab the blister pack, pop the pill, flush down with a swig of water, and you move on with your day. You just have to remember to do it as often as the label tells you. It's simple, but strangely near impossible to get right every day. And then there's that little imp on your shoulder on the way to work who wants to debate with you whether or not you actually took the tablet when you're pretty sure you did. If medical science can do one thing for society in 2026, Matt, it might be to ease this pain.
And I'm surprised. I thought you would have had a spreadsheet, put it in your calendar. I thought you would have had a system.
Wouldn't matter. That means we've got to have the spreadsheet out at the time, and then you've got to mark it off and say that, yes, you've taken the tablet. Just got to take one in the morning. Easy enough, but in the car I'll be going, did I take it? Even if I took it, I'll be still going, I'm not quite sure.
Not sure. So I didn't realise how big a problem it was.
It's an enormous problem.
It's an enormous problem for people with some more severe issues than you've got.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Medication non-adherence, get ready for this, causes hundreds of thousands of preventable deaths each year.
Deaths?
Deaths. And I started thinking, what? Just because you didn't take your vitamin tablet?
Oh, wow.
But
you're thinking like insulin or something like that maybe? Or?
No, organ transplants,
of course.
HIV, tuberculosis. They're three ones that you've got to be spot on with your medication. Otherwise, yes, your life is at risk.
Tuberculosis shouldn't be on there. It's 2026. But anyway, no, look, that's another story. We'll deal with that later.
Right. So it's a problem that causes deaths. That means that people have said, how can we address it? So some engineers at MIT have developed a pill that confirms when it has been swallowed. Now, this idea has been kicked around before, and they've tried some different things.
Little voice that rings in. You've taken me. It's all right.
Well, I thought of Honey, I've Shrunk the Kids, and someone comes down and says, yes, you've taken that.
Hey, I'm still in the packet. Yeah, okay.
So it doesn't tell you it's still in the packet. What it does do, though, when you take the pill, inside that capsule and inside the normal drug that's in there, they've added a biodegradable RF antenna. So you're swallowing an antenna that then breaks down, that's okay, and a tiny RF chip. Now, the chip doesn't break down. Right. The chip is made of a substance that needs to be there that doesn't break down. But it's okay because the RF chip is about 0.4 millimetres square. So that just goes straight through. So that comes out the other end. Okay. Don't use it again. Don't go fishing for it. Don't go
I was thinking something telescopic that comes out, like, I don't know, my favourite Martian from the 60s or something.
Or Gadget or something. So the capsule's coated with a gelatin and cellulose plus some molybdenum, and that blocks the RF signal. So it doesn't transmit it early. So in the packet, it won't transmit it because it's being blocked.
Yeah, okay.
When you take it, stomach fluids dissolve the coating, releases the drug and the antenna, so it transmits a signal about 60 centimetres through our body. Okay. And our body's pretty good at absorbing RF signal because we're lots of liquid.
Well, if you got your phone in your pocket.
Correct. That's exactly what you have. So you have an app on your phone, you take the pill.
Gives you a tick.
And more than that, it sends a tick off to your carers, to your medical staff to say, James is taking his pill, James is taking his pill. Hold on, it's 10 a.m. I haven't got the information. James hasn't taken his pill. James, what have you done? Oh, I forgot to take my pill. So how cool is that?
How about that?
That's pretty cool. And I thought, gee, that's a lot of work to go to just say to someone, set an alarm on your watch.
Set an alarm on your watch, yeah.
But obviously it's a big issue. So the whole concept here is to get people taking their pills or keep people alive. There's the research lead was a guy who's an MIT engineer, and he also happens to be a gastroenterologist. And I'm assuming he's probably lost patients and they didn't take their pills. And he's gone, why did Mary have to die? She didn't have to die. She just needed to take her pills. What are we going to do about it? And
Well, I think sticking an aerial into a little antenna into a tablet. What a masterstroke.
I think so. And I thought, gee, that's a lot of over-engineering for just, again, setting an alarm on your watch. But it's obviously an issue. It's obviously an issue.
Look, the alarm's no good if I'm driving in my car and the tablet's back in the kitchen.
Well, true. Exactly.
But, I thought that was... Whatever floats your boat, whatever works.
That's right. So I imagine it will be on mission critical, on people that, like organ transplants, that sort of thing, on pills that absolutely have to be taken. But who knows, give it a year or two, that'll just be standard fare. Hey, your antibiotics, I mean, when the doctor says, here's the course of antibiotics, take those till the end. And of course, everyone goes 4 days later, I'm feeling okay, I'll just skip those. And of course, that's bad.
Take that antibiotic.
That's right. You get a phone call from your doctor, you didn't take it. No, I'm feeling great. I told you to take your antibiotic. So who knows, every pill might come with this in 5 years' time.
Illegal dumping of rubbish or fly tipping is a worrisome social evil, whether it's due to the inconvenience of having to transport waste all the way to designated council tips or due to the price tag when you get there to use these facilities. Illegal dumping of rubbish damages local environments, public spaces and harms wildlife. It's noxious and an irresponsible act and requires other people to remove it at a greater cost and inconvenience than it would have taken to begin with, which is why some councils in the UK are employing mobile AI-based CCTV to nab offenders, Matt.
Yeah, go AI. Go and get those bad guys out there. And it does make a difference.
Public shaming.
Public shaming, that's right. And I won't country shame, but I know some places I've travelled to are incredibly clean and they just look nice when you travel around. You feel better about travelling around. Other places you go to, it feels like the rubbish dump is the road.
Yeah.
And on the roadside, it looks disgusting.
But in a place like Australia, things like asbestos, where we've got fairly high safety regulations and building and whatnot, old buildings still have asbestos in it. Disposing of it is enormously expensive. And I get that. But people, that gives you no right to just dump it wherever.
No, that's right. I mean, literally you could cause someone's death if you just dump it wherever.
For sure.
So it is a problem. It's a problem across the world in different places. And in the UK, there are areas that have got basically people dumping things illegally. So as you said, it costs money to clean it up. That money could be spent on improving that council area rather than just cleaning up rubbish. And it can harm local wildlife, it can harm waterways, a whole range of issues there. So to tackle the problem, West North Hampshire Council, so if any listeners from there, make sure you don't dump any rubbish, because the new AI-powered CCTV camera is out there as we speak. But it's not just being located in one spot, it's a mobile.
It's moving around
camera.
the place.
That's right. So
it's going to get you.
It's a great idea because it's a bit like when you have a fixed spot on the road where they've got a speed camera, everyone goes, oh, slow down, go below the speed limit. And then what you need is a policeman parked 200 metres up the road because everyone speeds back up and makes up for the slowing down they just did. So if you had these cameras in one spot, everyone just go, oh, don't dump there, go 200 metres up the road. So they've got a tower. They've got a little CCTV camera on the top and it gives you a 360-degree view. It's got automatic number plate recognition so it can see who they are, tapped into a database to say, hey, let's ring James because his number plate's dumping rubbish right now, so we're onto him straight away. And it does do real live time, or live data, not after the fact, 2 weeks later, we've now got James on camera. It's while it's happening right now, we can go and nab that particular person. So they'll move this around to different spots. They'll put it in areas where they know are hotspots for it. So if you go and dump in some of those areas, you'll know that maybe there's a camera watching, and using AI just means they can tell the difference between someone out walking their dog and someone out walking their dog and then dumping a bit of rubbish while they're out walking their dog, or driving car past there and stopping to have a look at the view, or driving the car past and stopping to dump some rubbish there. So AI being used to combat some bad behaviour, fantastic. Using modern CCTV, and we know that the resolution is getting so much better, the cameras are getting so much cheaper.
Well, yeah, and AI recognising human beings, either by face or by other distinguishing features. There's a lot of power in it.
Yeah, that's right. So I think we're going to see more and more of this. I think illegal dumping is a problem, and not just in one particular area of the UK. It's a problem across the world. If we can get to the point where these mobile towers using AI on top of that are going to be effective at stopping it, then I think we're going to see more and more of it. And maybe some people just go, you know what, I just need to go to the roast up tip.
I'll just do it legitimately.
That's right.
Paints, plastics and perfumes, very different modern chemical industries where the recipes have no limit, and playing around with properties of substances may lead to resounding success or abject failure. And playing with the properties has often meant that trying to improve one aspect of the mixture has come at the cost of another. Industrial chemists tweak their concoctions by adding or subtracting small amounts of ingredients like the alchemists of old, trying to find just the right balance. It's always been a game of profound skill and saintly patience. That is, until AI was invited to the cauldron, Matt.
Invited to the cauldron, and we've talked about this before. We've got our 92, 93 naturally occurring elements. We've got compounds made up of those elements. And then you start to think, gee, how many different combinations could you have? And I know infinity is not a number per se, but you almost get to infinity.
We're getting pretty high.
We are, aren't we? Now, some of these paints that we use now have 25 ingredients in there. Right. So you take 93 naturally occurring elements, and I know there's some that you wouldn't be using in paints, but just take that number and then say combine those 25 of those in different amounts, because again, how much of each of those can you put in, and I'm pretty quickly getting to a number that's too large for me to comprehend.
But that's as pure elements as well. If you start sticking them together, they change their properties and stuff. And
so then we add some compounds into there, and then you go, yep, infinity's looking pretty good right now.
But there's so much more to paint than just adding a bit of colour to something that's going to stick on a wall. I mean, there's the stickiness of the paint.
Yep.
There's how it behaves in weather, and there's how easily it is to spread, and da-da-da. And that's just paint. And we were talking about plastics and perfumes in there as well,
Perfumes, a whole range of things. So if I look at paints for a moment, so one of the things in paints was that they wanted to have faster drying paint. But when you have fast drying paint, typically the surface isn't as good. And again, my brother, I did a bit of work from him when I was at uni because my brother's a painter, and it would always be, we'll use, in the old days, we use oil-based paints for the gloss because they take longer to dry and that gives it a smoother finish, and then the water-based paints for the ones that are a matte finish because they don't need as long to dry. And that was a very simplistic view of paints. But to a certain extent, when you want fast drying, you're not going to get the same finish as a slower drying paint. So what they gave as a challenge was, it's better for our production if we can have the paint dry faster. So how do we do that but still get the good finish? And by basically feeding all this information in all these product properties, chemical laws, etc., into an AI tool, they found some combinations that were suggested that weren't logical. No, that doesn't make sense. No, that won't work. We won't do that. Oh, hold on. AI is saying we should try that. Oh, lo and behold. So they found a paint that would normally take 30 minutes in a heating environment, as in a heated environment to dry. They got that down to 5 minutes and you couldn't tell the difference between the two surfaces.
Wow.
So just that. And again, that wasn't trying logical things that have been tried before. That was going off the reservation and saying, let's try something completely different. And it was completely different.
I just think there's I cannot get the image of these chemical engineers sitting around a big cauldron and grabbing these little vials and stuff and just put a dash of this stuff in and see what happens. But that's what AI's told them to do.
That's essentially, well, if you go back before AI...
Tail of whatever frog.
But before AI, that might have been exactly what they do. Let's just try a bit of this. And obviously they're not just randomly trying things. They're looking at the chemical composition. But they're trying things that they understand to be true from the past and then trying things that they think would make sense. But AI can look at so many combinations so much quicker and say, no, you need to put these ones in, not those ones, and try that. And again, they're trying it all, and away they go and finding just incredible different varieties. This is at the early part of AI. They haven't had the time to test some of the combinations that have been suggested yet, but imagine when they start testing those, we might get some paint on our cars that's not going to be too bobbed down the side, not going to get a scratch down the side from someone running a coin on there. Incredibly hard, but incredibly lustrous. I don't know, what things do you want in your paint? Like all sorts of wonderful characteristics. And then you've got smell. So you've got scent profiles for soaps, for example, and you think, but AI, you can't even smell things. How are you coming up with these ideas? So again, different scents, different scent profiles with different combinations, maybe cheaper ways to produce those same scents. Mars has used AI to design a chewing gum bottle. So forget the scent, forgetting the taste of it, but by having a design of a bottle that can fit the chewing gum in more compactly, they've cut development time by 40% and they're saving tons of plastic on the packaging.
This is amazing.
It is amazing. So you've got things like that. You've also got, for example, 3M is using AI to come up with sanding discs that are more effective at sanding, but balance dust capture with the grinding performance. So how do we grind and get less dust but still have the grinding capabilities? So I think AI in these examples can speed innovation, lower the cost of experimentation. I think a whole range of different advantages there. Wow. So anyway, R&D used to be cautious trial and error in terms of what you put together, but now it's almost like give that a go in a computer and then let's see what happens in the real world.
Amazing. Blow me away. Some exciting news lies ahead for people with major spinal injuries. Now, engineers are exploring a number of possibilities to restore movement for paralysed patients. It's an area of problem solving where AI could really come to the fore, either by robotic enhancement, maybe by rewiring the spinal cord even. We've talked about that sort of stuff before. Or by bypassing the area of the spinal damage altogether. Now, Matt, you're going to tell us all about electroencephalography. I think I said that right. I'll say it one more time. Electroencephalography, where messages from the brain actually bypass the zone of spinal damage and hopefully nullify paralysis completely.
Well, it's fascinating, isn't it? Because if someone does have spinal cord damage, in the past, scientists might have looked at it and said, how can we possibly get all those nerves connecting to each other, get the soldering iron out and start connecting nerves? Oh my gosh, there's too many.
You've got to make sure you connect the right ones up. But then I saw something about in mice, they just let it grow back, and so it didn't matter if the right nerve was connected with its previous length, that you could get that tangled up and the brain would just solve it. But I don't know if it went any further. Yeah,
so and that's one way of looking at it, because we know that the brain is quite good at being quite rubbery, quite malleable.
Yeah, it's neuroplasticity is the term.
So it'll say, hold on, I used to think this to make my leg move. Now when I think that, my arm moves. Well, hold on, maybe I just changed what I think there. But it didn't really go much further than that. Yeah. And maybe they'll still work on that as well. But getting those nerves to join together is probably a part of the issue. Yeah. What they've said in this particular example is said, well, forget it. Why don't we just bypass that? Why don't we just put an external link in that goes, who cares about the broken spinal cord? We'll just go around that and send the message, which sounds simple when you say it.
So much of what we talk about sounds so simple.
That's right. So we've talked before about some implants in the brain to detect what the brain's thinking, and that scares people a little bit. Drilling a hole in your scalp and putting some electrodes in, why wouldn't that scare people a little bit? But if you've got no other solution, maybe that's something that you entertain as an idea. This is a bit different. This is where they're putting essentially a cap with electrodes on and then using, I'll say EEG, because you're much better at pronouncing what EEG stands for than I am.
That'd be electroencephalography.
That's the one. Yeah. So they use EEG to then detect what your brain is thinking. And it's not as good as having electrodes in the brain because it's got to transmit further and it's got to get through the scalp. And the sensitivity of the detection has got to be much greater to try and pick up what's happening. But what they've found so far is that someone can think, I want to move my arm, and they can then wire up the arm to vaguely move. At this stage, maybe not exactly how you wanted it to move, maybe not exactly the precision that you wanted it to move, but you can actually get some movement by thinking about it and then having the wiring from your cap going directly to the nerves in your arm, for example. One of the things that's an issue is that the centre for your movement of your legs, the lower half of your body, is deeper in the brain than the upper half of your body. So they're able to work your arms better than your legs because it's closer to the surface of the brain. So the signal is stronger, if you like, at that point, which might add to the argument of going a bit deeper into the brain and putting the actual electrodes further in the brain. But with a cap on the outside of the brain. And that blows
me away too, the fact that we can dig into your brain and it drops something. Yeah,
but anyway. No, it sounds scary. So this is quite fascinating. So someone that has, and I'm imagining you might use it at some point for other purposes, but the first thing would be surely someone that's lost the use of their arms or legs. Surely that would be the most obvious way that you would take advantage of this. So you put the cap on, you train this cap on thinking about things and getting your arm to move, and eventually you would get to the point where you could start to use your limbs again just from thinking about it, which sounds incredible. And they'll probably do some training on people that have still got their arms and legs, their movement of their arms and legs, but you still have those centres in your brain. And you've heard people talk about it. I've seen people on TV interviewed that might have lost a foot, for example, but they'll still get an itchy foot.
Yeah, the phantom limb syndrome.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So the brain still says, hold on, I know what to think when I'm going to do something down there.
Got to scratch this leg that's no longer there.
Yeah, that's right. So it's still got the capability of the brain to think about movement, even though the part that's got to move isn't necessarily connected anymore. So it's a fascinating world. We're learning so much about the brain, but we know so little about the brain.
Now, Matt, I'm going to struggle with this next story. Folks, imagine having an AI assistant shuffling about on your computer system, tidying up your files like an office busybody while you tap away on the keyboard, which sounds good potentially, but as you work, imagine also having that AI assistant making decisions about what files and folders should be relocated, renamed or deleted. Now, Matt, there's an enormous leap of faith here that I just feel there's a digital bridge too far for this little black duck.
It is a bit scary, isn't it? So this is Claude Coworker. It's an experimental AI agent, and it was basically written by AI itself. So Claude Code had become so capable that human developers barely touch traditional coding tools during the development of Claude Coworker. That should raise some alarm bells for a start. Now, what you've then got to do is you've got to give Claude Coworker access to stuff on your computer or on your system. So files, as you mentioned, folders, your calendar, your email, because this is an assistant to help you. Now, the description has been it's more like a junior staff member than an experienced assistant. I'm not sure I'd give a junior staff member full read-write access. But I did think about it, and I know over the years with our kids growing up, we took so many videos, so many photos, and in the early days of those filing systems, some of them were named 8-character long file names because I was limited into how long I could have some of those file names. And when I'm searching for some of those, I've got them sorted by month and year and day, but I'd love to rename all of those. I'd love someone just to go along and look at each of those files and name it something obvious. Maybe this is a job for Claude Coworker.
Yeah, but you say obvious. As Claude Coworker, has that AI assistant got the same concept of obvious as what you do?
Probably not.
So for mine, that file's lost forever.
It might be lost forever. But Claude Coworker might also say, this is a waste of time. This is a terrible video. This is a video of one of your kids running in the hallway. It's all jumpy. No, we'll just delete that file. And you've given permission for Claude Coworker to delete that file. Forever. That's right.
Thanks, Claude.
That's right. Sending off appointment. So you got an email from some random person. Hey, have you got time for a coffee? Sure thing. There's time on my calendar next Tuesday at 10 a.m. Let's meet up for a coffee. No, I don't want to meet with him. That person's an idiot. I don't want to talk to them at all. Too late. You've got it in your calendar now. So I can see where they're going. I can see a whole idea of getting someone to help out in your busy life, getting a digital assistant. But it is a bit scary, isn't it? So it made me laugh. I looked at some of the things that it had done, and it had gotten to the point where some things went, I can't do this, so it kind of failed, and then said, look, I can't do this, but you can do it. You're the human. Here's some detailed instructions. So then you're going, hold on, I gave you a job to do. Now you're giving me back detailed instructions on how to do the job that I gave you. I don't need the detailed instructions. Thanks very much. I want you to do it for me.
See, the thing is, I don't even trust myself. When I rename a file or if I relocate a file, I go looking for that 6 months, 12 months, 18 months later. I'm looking in the old place for an old name.
Yep.
And it's so frustrating when you really know you need that file.
Yep.
And it's moved.
Well, even the creator of this said that it needs close supervision. That's got to be an indicator, hasn't it?
Yeah. So you're going to spend all the time that you would have spent doing it yourself watching this thing do it for you.
That's right. And you might gain confidence out of that and you might eventually let it go loose, but you're always wondering, did that file, did I forget that I had that file, or has Claude done something else with it? So it is funny actually asking AI tools which AI tool you should use. And I was chatting to Chat the other day and I just said, I've got this little bit of code I want to write, and you've got another programming tool out there, I won't say the brand name of this one. And I went, it's getting some good reviews lately. I'll ask Chat whether it should do it. And, of course, Chat gave it a damning review. Oh, no, it does all this and it gives you errors here. And, no, you don't want to use that at all for programming. I went, yeah, but you do some of those things too, Chat. So, so I had a big argument with Chat the other day. I asked Chat a pretty simple question about a movie. There was a new, I'll say the movie, the new Knives Out movie, Wake Up Dead Man.
Yeah,
so
right.
I watched that on a flight, and at the end I went, it's interesting. I'll ask Chat about that. Just explain a bit of the plot to me. And Chat said, you didn't watch it. And I said, but I did watch it, Chat, because it's on Netflix and it's available now, and I watched it. No, you might be confusing it. You might be confusing it with the second Knives Out, the one about, it's got onion in the title, I can't remember, but it was trying to describe that plot to me.
It's getting a bit shirty with you. And I said, no, I'm telling you.
But this is it. I kept, and I said, look, I can just walk away, but no, I want to finish this argument. So I gave it a screenshot of the Netflix. Here it is, the screenshot of the Netflix show that I just watched, and it said, you might be confused because sometimes Netflix does this as a trailer. I went, no, I just spent 144 minutes watching this chat, and it went through, and I went back and forth, and I gave it information. Wikipedia, I gave it a screenshot from Wikipedia. Sometimes Wikipedia does pre-release information. No, it's talking about, I gave it the release date on Wikipedia, which was in December last year, and finally, when it finally accepted it, it said, no, I'll give you the plot and the information you're after. I said, hold on, can you first of all say you got it wrong? Can you first of all say, sorry, I've wasted 5 minutes of your life?
At least acknowledge it.
Acknowledge that you got it completely wrong.
Got some junk lying around in your garage? Well, got an ounce of musical talent in your bones? Well, combine the two and the Guthman Musical Instrument Competition may be just for you. If you can blow into it, pluck it, strum it or whack it to make enjoyable noises, then you're in with a chance for a podium finish for the most innovative instrument. Music is, after all, merely when physics makes pleasing sounds, so get into it, folks. But beware, in this, its 30th year now, you may need to include some fancy tech to win yourself a Guthman Award this year, Matt.
So it runs on the 13th and 14th of March, so you've still got time to enter, although I think they've already decided the finalists. But I was a bit disappointed. The first prize is only US $10,000. And I thought, surely the amount of work people have put into some of these instruments, and I use that term slightly loosely, I thought surely it's worth more than $10,000.
Bit of PVC pipe, a filter funnel, and some duct tape.
Well, I'm going back to the whistle on the lollipop whistle that you talked about a few episodes ago.
Right, okay.
So go back and look at those. So there's some interesting concepts. And as you said, people are obviously adding a fair bit of technology. And one of my favourite ones, these are some of the finalists, one of my favourite ones was one that gives you effectively a seance of what's around us. So it looks at the invisible electromagnetic signals that we've got and blends those into your instrument. So it's picking up what we know is all around us, coming from the sun, coming from radio stations, TV stations.
Right.
We know we've got electromagnetic signals bouncing around everywhere.
And converting it into noise.
But you're not playing an instrument then, so you've got to do something as well. So it's taking that as the background for then you to manipulate that. So I thought that wasn't too bad. There's an electronic violin, which has got 4 essentially computers, miniature computers, one per string, to analyse the movement of each of those strings in real time and then play some music. One that I actually seen this, an electronic sax. So this is one of the finalists. This is maybe one that was a finalist years ago. And I thought, what a great idea, because if one of my kids said, I want to play the sax, I'd go, great. Where are you going to practice? Because I can't imagine it would sound beautiful on day one. If you're learning the piano, the guitar, you can probably keep it quiet enough. But a sax is probably going to be noisy. So electronic sax, these exist. And so you can play electronic sax and it makes no noise until you plug it into an amplifier. And I thought, what a great way to learn the sax.
Plug it into your headphones and just listen to yourself.
And no one else has to listen to that sax.
If they can do that with trombones and trumpets.
Well, why not? If you can do it with a sax, it's a wind instrument. So if you can do it with a sax, why can't you do it with other things as well? So again, that's a commercial product. You can buy those. I know a gentleman who's actually got an electronic sax. He's learning it, and his partner was a bit sick of the noise, so he bought electronic sax. So you've got a whole range of different things. There's one that's got 4 violins around a bass drum, uses motors and servos to create an infinite bow. So, and again, when you play a violin, the bow goes back and forth and back and forth. Wouldn't it be great just to have the bow go on forever so that you can just play the actual strings and the bowing is always done for you? So some things like that, quite interesting. One I do like the sound of is the Lithelium. It's a bicycle wheel, and the 24 strings on it are basically the strings on the bicycle wheel that you play. And I thought of when we were kids, you'd stick the playing card in the spokes, and as you rode faster, it made a higher pitched sound because the card would flick back and forth, and you slowed down, it would play a lower pitched sound. I think it's more complicated than that, but using the 24 strings or 24 spokes on a bicycle wheel as strings to play an instrument there, I thought that was quite good. So there's a whole range of things. There is a digital sax, but this one's got a reed with electromagnetics, which plays impossible notes to play with a normal sax, and a joystick-controlled looping. Impossible notes. The ones you couldn't get on a normal sax.
Yeah, okay.
And then a joystick and probably an Ed Sheeran type thing where you've got a joystick-controlled looping, so you could play a bit of the sax and then loop that, while you then add other sax sounds on top.
So you've told me it's probably a little bit too late to get into this year's Guthman Awards?
Start looking at next year's
Next
maybe.
year's, right,
so,
okay.
Yeah. So
get raiding that garage.
That's right.
Go down to the electrical distributor and pick up a whole lot of little bits and bobs.
Presumably you've got to have some way of making the sound different, having the human make the sound different, because you're not really playing an instrument if it's just making noise.
Good luck with that, folks.
That's right.
And that's all there is for us this week. The checkered flag is waving. We've crossed the line victorious once again. And all that's left is to spray someone with some cheap sparkling white wine. Thanks for another cracking tech talk, Matt.
My pleasure. My pleasure to be back in the country. It's lovely to travel, but it is good to be back home.
Home's where the heart is.
Home is where the heart is, and actually just used to some of the electronic things. It's been great using different technologies around the world, but it is nice to come home to a good internet connection.
To what you know.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah? And thank you for tuning in once again, folks. Each episode of Tech Talk is researched and put together with the greatest care and precision, and not by 1,000 monkeys with 1,000 typewriters, as some might have suggested in the past. Let's clear that up right now. I'm your trained monkey host, though, James Eddy, signing off on another week with a promise that we'll be back with another episode next week, freshly posted with your chosen provider, regular as clockwork. We hope that you'll be back to join us. Don't forget to smash that like button, or follow or subscribe, or post a message and bring along a friend for next time. Until then, take care and we'll see you when we see you.